Central Wisconsin Christian came to Pen and Lens looking for a brand and identity update. Their stuff had been redone in the early 90s, and it worked for the time, but they were facing new enrollment challenges, different platforms, different environments in which their identity was living, and it became apparent to them that their old stuff was no longer working, and it no longer really was true to who they were. The difference for an educational institution is that the identity not only sells what the product is, what the outcome of that educational institution is, but it also has to serve to identify those whom it encounters. So students, when we're thinking about CWC, you're going to have from kindergarten all the way through seniors in high school, and this brand needs to serve those students, and they need to be able to identify with what's going on. So this identity and this brand need to give them a sense of belonging, a sense of place, and a sense of pride. And if we can do that with the brand identity, like we've tried to do with CWC, then I think the brand is overall going to be really successful. The old CWC logo was sort of what we expect coming out of the 90s. It had a small type and serif where it shouldn't have had serifs. It had an illustration that was too tight, and it had gradients and too many colors. Sort of the height of getting excited about digital printing, but not sort of thinking all the way through what needed to be done and where the logo needed to interact and how it needed to function. The new logo for CWC is a simple crest, and at the center are sort of three things that are intertwined. We call it a gestalt. There's a W that runs through the middle for Wisconsin. There can be seen this sort of mask or this helmet-looking thing. We wanted to base that off of the school's mascots, the Crusaders. And then at the very middle, there's this cross that functions to serve the purpose of the school, which is their motto is where Christ is central. So that was really important to the institution to have that representation. One thing we did really intentionally with the CWC brand was make sure that there was only one visual identity. A lot of schools you'll see one identity for an athletics program and another identity for the academic program. And we wanted to sort of blur that line and really bring the two together. It can be nerve-wracking for an institution who hasn't had a lot of modern design for a long time to jump into the sort of abstract boat and really take that on as their visual identity. And it takes a lot of convincing, but I think that something that's a strength of the CWC brand is that at any moment somebody can see something different, right? A big donor who's been faithful for many years can look at it and see the where Christ is central motto coming through. An athlete who steps onto the field for the first time or wants to play a sport while they're in education and through high school, they can see that sort of Crusader helmet that also sort of functions as a superhero helmet. And people who are just proud of their state can look at it and feel that W in the middle there. And so all of these perspectives come together to form a really rich visual and a really rich reading of what that logo is. And we sort of encourage those different views. There's no real right way to look at this logo. And that, I think, opens the door for more people to come and be a part of the community. As part of the brand rollout process, we wanted to make sure that students would really take it and use it as their own. And so we tried to equip them along the way. When we're thinking about an institution that's K to 12, we're serving a very broad range of individuals, right? So at the very beginning, we're serving them color and book. And so students get to color the new logo and the new patterns and whatever else goes with it. They get to see the meaning or discover the meaning as they go, and that gets them really excited from an early age. For the older students, we're designing things like face filters and really smart social media posts so that they get to engage with it and they get to get their hands dirty with what the brand is. And anytime that we're able to engage a population that we're identifying and get them to participate on their own, I think it builds pride, it builds that sense of belonging, and it ultimately sets up the brand for success in the future. Overall, I really think that CWC is excited about their new brand and what it can mean going forward. they are really now in a position where they can attract any type of audience member at any point along their timeline. They can bring in high school students, they can bring in parents, they can bring in athletes, they can bring in those who are looking for a certain perspective to their education. And ultimately, I think that's going to serve them for many, many years in the future. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they grow and the way that the brand gets expressed and it gets muddied, and the way that these people take and use it, because I think ultimately that's what we want to have happen, is that the people who we're designing brands for and the people who are being identified by the brand ultimately take it and make it their own.